Hey guys, Bugcat7 here. Okay, it is Saturday, February 16, 2019. And I want to thank you for visiting the Stonewall Research Channel here on YouTube. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. Thank you very much. Please hit the like button if you would. I really appreciate that too. All right, guys. So today for you, I got another megalithic site. I'm sure it's been covered before, but I came across an article. It's a couple of years old, but the guy who did the article, this guy Marco. Let me see if I can get it here. Marco Vagato. He's sort of a traveler. He goes to these megalithic sites and he questions things, and he asks the right questions, and he's got his own theories about things. But the pictures he's taken of El Tajin, which is a well-known place. Many Mexicans travel there. All kinds of festivities there. It's a big place for them. It's a Mayan city, supposedly, according to mainstream. But as Marco goes through in this article here, and the pictures he's taken, just phenomenal pictures. Just you can't find them anywhere else. But from this article here, I can't put the website's filled with commercials and all kinds of stuff. It just slows the computer down. But let me get through it for you, and I'll show you just the amazing pictures. There's an older temple there that apparently the Mayans built a staircase on, and they ruined it, and they didn't understand what its purpose was for. Maybe, I don't know. But there's also megalithic stonework there all over the place. And some of them in these ball courts where, it seems like they repurposed these stones. The Mayans repurposed, tore down some older structure and repurposed the stones for the ball courts there. Who knows what was there beforehand, but it seems like it was something pretty impressive, and they just sort of tore it all down to, make these ball courts there. But so anyway, let me try to get you through this article, and I'll show you the just phenomenal pictures that this guy got. And, I hadn't really known about this place. If anybody's done anything on it, I don't know. But you got to look at these things. And, like I said, the author of the article here, this guy Marco Vagato, does a pretty good job of it, and I'll throw my 2 cents in here, whatever. But the article's called "Mexico's Haunted City of Thunder, El Tajin," and I said Megaliths still. Surprising connections between cultures, worlds, and eras apart. El Tajin is a Mesoamerican archaeological site located in the north of the state of Veracruz near the Gulf Coast of Mexico. The city, one of the most flourishing of the classic and early post-classic periods, so they say, was only rediscovered in 1785, immediately capturing the imagination of the European travelers with its imposing jungle-covered ruins and unusual architecture. Over the 5 centuries since the city's abandonment in the early 13th century, all knowledge of the city's former existence was lost, even among the local Teutonic people, which is hardly surprising. I'll have to read you an account of Jefferson coming up to Long Island, New York in 1800 and finding only a few members of some tribes that were here on Long Island. Once those people died off, there was none left. And the people that he came to at 1800 didn't even understand their own language completely. They were illiterate in it. So, it just shows you what can happen. So, here's a picture of the main sort of picture of an overall site there. You can see there's, Mayan work there, this temple here. But this is not the most interesting temple. This is typical Mayan temple here. But when you see some of the megalith stuff and, typical stonework of the Mayans here. So when you see the other, work, the megalithic stuff, you can see where, well, anyway, let me go on with this. Haunted pyramids. A superstitious terror surrounded the region where the ancient city once stood, considered to be home of spirits and supernatural beings. These beings were known as Tajins, meaning lightning or thunder, and were believed to haunt the ancient pyramids in whose interiors they dwelled, as if an underground as if in an underground palace. The Pyramid of the Niches at El Tajin, the monumental access stairway facing due east, is a later addition that covered many of the original niches. Because of the addition of this stairway, the number of visible niches no longer adds up to 365, the number of days in a year. Let me show you a picture in a solar year. Let me show you a picture of that. And that's the Temple of Niches, and this staircase was added later on, I guess, by the Mayans, who evidently didn't understand maybe what the original purpose was of the temple. Who knows? But that's what the mainstream academics say. So apparently this part of the temple was much older structure there. So, who knows who the people were who built that. They probably don't know either. They're saying that the Olmec, the megalithic work reminds them of the Olmec, but they don't know. And it's so close to the site in my other video, so that I just did a few videos back in the highlands by Mexico, just south of Mexico City, with this megalithic cities up there in those areas. Okay, today Tajin is known for its elaborately ornate architecture and peculiar construction techniques. The Pyramid of the Niches is perhaps the most emblematic of Tajin's architecture. It was built of sandstone and cut in small blocks, arranged to form a pattern of niches and cornices that decorate the entire facade. There are 365 niches along the four faces of the pyramid, one for every day of the year, rising in 7 tiers until the summit. The pyramid itself is approached by a monumental stairway adorned with frets and stone mosaics. The number of niches suggests that the monument had a cylindrical function, but it is not known how exactly it was used for the tracking of time. Isn't that interesting? And we'll see another view. And this guy's got excellent pictures here too, all his pictures. Great picture there of the Pyramid of Niches. Just amazing stuff. And we'll get to that in a second. All right, the ball game. Over 40 of the pyramids have been excavated at Tajin, mostly in the lower city, including a large plaza surrounded by pyramids known as the Arroyo Group. Among these are as many as 17 ball courts, one of the highest concentrations of this type of structure in Mesoamerica. The north and south ball courts are constructed of large flagstones, among which are a number of carved panels containing scenes related to the Mesoamerican ball game. The Acropolis of the site has not been excavated, with the exception of a palatial area known as Tajin Chico, located on an artificially terraced portion of the Acropolis. Buildings in this area show a clear Maya influence and are notable for the use of painted stucco and plaster decoration. So, stucco and plaster, I could just, if I come to your house or whatever, I buy your house and I can just stucco it up my own way, whatever way I like. And here's the panel from the delicately carved panel from the South Ball Court depicting a human sacrifice. The style of the carving is very peculiar and reminds of the Near East and Sumer. That would be this thing here. Okay. So they evidently think it's unusual, and it's something in the Near East, Far East. Okay, megalithic builders. Here's where it gets interesting. A particularly remarkable aspect of Tajin's architecture is the use of large megalithic stone blocks in a number of constructions. The use of megalithic stones is particularly evident in the South Wall Court. 2 parallel 60-meter long, 197 feet, walls delimit the opposite sides of the court, including 6 sculptured panels, 3 on each side. The walls rise in 4 rows of large megalithic stones, although there is evidence that the wall was probably higher. Most stones measure between 3 and 4 meters, 10 and 13 feet. And a particularly massive flagstone, however, measures over 8 meters long, 26 feet, with an estimated weight in excess of 10 tons. So who knows how much it really weighs. But they say the walls were probably higher. So for some reason the walls were higher and they dismantled them maybe to make more ball courts, evidently. Okay, so you're going to see a picture of the ball court. There's some of the megaliths in the ball court there, which seems very similar to that area in Huaxla in the highlands south of Mexico City. In my video, a few videos ago, I did on that site that nobody knows about with all this megalithic stone. It's the oldest megalithic city in the Americas and all this kind of stuff. So it's just funny. This is not far from there. And you have this megalithic stuff, but apparently the author here says that they sort of rearranged it. They repurposed it. Okay. Oh, another photo. One of the main ceremonial avenues of El Tajin, flanked by pyramids. Let's see what that looks like. Here we go. Nice pictures that this guy got. All right. In spite of their fine workmanship and the precision of the stone cuts and angles, the jointing between the stones is not always perfect, with the frequent insertion of smaller stones and wedges. This suggests that many of the megalithic stone blocks may have originally formed part of some other structure and are only found here in secondary use. A small temple at one end of the south ball court seems to be built entirely of reused stone blocks. So there you go. The author here thinks that, you know, these things were reused stone blocks that they put together these ball courts with. And let's see, we got sculpted ball court walls here. There we go. Nice pictures there. So, let's see. All right. A number of large megalithic stones were also employed in the construction of the Pyramid of the niches, in front of which stands a very peculiar megalithic altar built of very finely carved and polished ashlars, highly worked square stones. This megalithic style of architecture is unique in Mesoamerica and appears to have been at least partially influenced by Olmec construction techniques. For the size of the stones employed and the general quality of their workmanship, the megalithic walls of the South Ball Court of El Tajin are the finest in Mesoamerica and comparable to the best stonework of Peru. Okay, so you have this site with these remarkable megalithic things that seem repurposed. We'll read about this in a second here. Okay. Another unique characteristic of Tajin architecture, some enormous plaster and cement blocks, as much as 1 meter thick, are all that remains of the flat roofs of buildings that once stood on top of the pyramidal platforms. Okay, that's this photo. Maybe geopolymer. I don't know. Could be. Alright. Another unusual megalithic structure is known as the Great Quetzalcoatl, or the Great Enclosure. It consists of a single continuous wall enclosing an immense area of 12,000 square meters in the shape of a glyph, believed to symbolize the wind or the planet Venus. That's very interesting. Pay attention, Thunderbolts Project fans. Planet Venus. The wall is entirely constructed of finely carved and fitted megalithic stone blocks, each measuring between 2 and 3 meters, 6.5 to 9.8 feet in length. Doubtless, enormous efforts were spent in the construction of the great Quixcalcoatl, but no inscriptions or carvings have been found inside it that may help to explain its function, probably because it didn't have inscriptions on the outside till they were put there by the Mayan either. So the structure is unique in all of Mesoamerica, and its ultimate purpose is unknown. Very interesting there. Ultimate purpose is unknown. Okay, let's see another picture here. Another ornate facade on these buildings, which who knows what the original work is, and what might have been added by Mayans or copied, or who knows. It's hard to say. A small temple built with large megalithic stones stands at one end of the northern ball court. The loose joints and wedges inserted between the stones show that these are probably of secondary use. Okay, next photo. So he's saying that this is secondary use. So repurposed stones, they deconstructed something to create, these ball courts or whatever. God only knows what the heck that was, and we'll never know. But it's interesting how this site is, again, very close to the site that I said that nobody knows about in the highlands of Mexico, which is a complete megalithic city, complete. Not ripped apart, but blown up. Some of it, got exploded somehow. But it's, just very, unusual, peculiar that, this site is so close to that. They're not yet, they don't attribute that other site to the Olmecs. So, anyway, let me go on here. From the Great Quixcalcoatl, a jungle-covered path leads to the Great Ball Court and to the Acropolis. Unfortunately, none of these structures have been excavated, but it is clear that they must have been among the most monumental buildings on the site. A huge number of megalithic stone blocks are found scattered in this area, suggesting the presence of very large buildings still awaiting proper mapping and clearing. An estimated 50% of the ancient ceremonial center still lies buried and unexcavated, which may include some of the oldest structures on the site. Okay, another picture. One of the entrances to the pyramid there, just, very intricate megalithic stonework with finely, cut stone, which could be this intermediate period, between the huge stuff and, what it devolved to in the Mayan times, You gotta keep that in mind. Okay. Let's see, we have another picture here. Okay, no, that's next. All right, so, so unusual is the megalithic architecture of El Tajin that its origins may well be outside of Mesoamerica. And next is churning the sea of milk. Surprisingly, Tajin also contains some of the clearest evidence of pre-Columbian contact with the Old World. Not only does the style of carvings and bas-reliefs remind of similar examples from the Near East, Mesopotamia, and the Hittite world, but also the very style of architecture of Tajin bears striking similarities with the great temples of Angkor and the pyramid of Korker in Cambodia. Okay, and here's the Angkor Wat Temple in Cambodia. Okay, he's drawing a parallel with this. So, maybe. And, who knows, you have to ask yourself this question. if they have similar sort of mythology here, which is, this part of it here, the churning of the sea of milk, where did where did those people get it at Angkor Wat? Where did the Cambodians get their mythology? It goes further back, so in any case. All right, so over 2,000 years separate the known beginnings of Tajin from the peak of the great civilizations of the Near East. But it is equally possible that many of the megalithic structures at the site could significantly predate its classic and early post-classic flourishing. See? It is, however, the similarity between the architecture of Tajin and that of the Khmer temples of Cambodia that is perhaps the most striking. Okay. Is it a coincidence that just at the turn of the 10th and 11th century, two equally mysterious pyramid-building civilizations suddenly emerged from the mist of unknown beginnings to build monumental cities in the jungle and then vanished almost without a trace? So striking is the similarity between the architecture of Tajin and that of the Khmer capitals of Angkor and Kokor that one is prompted to wonder whether the same unknown architects were contemporarily at work in both places at the opposite sides of the world. Similarities are not limited to architecture but extend to art and iconography too. A striking bas-relief in a little site museum of Tajin contains a depiction virtually identical to the famous churning of the sea of milk, quote unquote, known from Hindu art and famously portrayed in the grandeur scene at Angkor Wat. Kurma avatar of Vishnu below Mount Madhu with Basuki wrapped around it during Samudra Manthan, the churning of the ocean of milk. And here's a picture of that. Okay. Ancient connections. Author Carl de Borgai was the first to point out the similarities between the Tajin bas-relief and ancient Hindu myths. On the panel, one can appreciate all the typical elements and iconography of the Hindu allegory. Two sets of figures are depicted pulling from opposite directions the body of a snake wrapped around a pillar or pole symbolizing the world axis. The world axis rests on the shell of a turtle, which symbolizes the earth and the four cardinal directions. From the quote-unquote churning, the waters of the primordial ocean are set in motion, and Soma, the nectar of immortality, is produced. Okay, and here's the bas-relief in the Tajin Museum. That was the bas-relief of the Hindu. That's what we just described. All right. And here's the bas-relief, the Mayan bas-relief, and here's what it looks like in a drawing. Okay, the churning of the sea of milk. An old drawing of the same bas-relief from which all the elements of the mythical composition can be fully appreciated. Two sets of figures stand on opposite sides of a rotating device around which coil two entwined serpents. The central pole symbolizes the world axis, supported by the turtle, symbol of the earth, and perhaps of the constellation of Orion. The stormy sea is depicted in the lower left and right corners, with the mouths of sea monsters jutting out of it. Two figures stand on the opposite ends of the bas-relief, carrying curious handbags believed to contain the nectar of immortality. So isn't that interesting? So, in any case, guys, this is what's found at El Tajin in Mexico, this site, with all of these megalithic, pieces of architecture there. This similar mythology, who knows where the Cambodians got theirs from. Just phenomenal work there, even by the Mayans doing, reconstruction, but much older stuff. maybe geopolymers. There's, you know, definitely megaliths there that were repurposed. Even looks like, you know, some polygonal work down here somewhere. So, you know, just another site in Mexico that was close to the other site that I mentioned from my videos there. The lost megalithic site in the Mexican highlands, which is not far from this at all. Here's where El Tajin is. So you can get to it on Google Maps there, right? And here's where this other site is, right over here in the highlands just south of Mexico City that I did in my other video there of that unknown megalithic site. And here's a satellite picture of the overall site there at Tajin. And like I said, it's a very popular place, and you know, Mexicans like to go there and, you know, check it out, and they have all kinds of festivities and they light it up. But you know, it's like, do they even know, you know, what it was all about? Here's some other pictures of the site. Just phenomenal. There it is at night. The staircase all lit up that doesn't belong there. You know, who knows who built this original structure, a megalithic structure according to them. So, in any case, guys, hope you enjoyed that. Just more questions, you know, than answers here. And, you know, more megalithic work that's, you know, comparable to that in Peru. And the same, you see repurposed stuff in South America as well, elsewhere. You know, there's always this, you know, repurposing, you know. You know, it's like the staircase on that pyramid. It's, you know, it's like that Steve Martin joke, you know. He's a caveman and he's the second smartest guy in the world, and he's trying to figure out how to become the smartest guy in the world. And he says, I know what, I'll kill the smartest guy in the world, then I'll be the smartest guy in the world. You know, he doesn't want to, you know, be as smart as that guy. Just kill him and then he'll be, you know, the smartest guy in the world. All right, man. All right, guys, thanks a lot. Bugcat7 signing out. Hope you enjoyed the video and the pictures. Till the next video, peace.